Welcome to EduRev's daily current affairs discussion. It's December 1st, 2025. And wow, we've got a lot to cover today. We're going to break down the absolutely crucial developments you need for your UPSC prep. So, what's defining India today? Well, we're looking at it through three big lenses. We've got an economy at a real crossroads, a nation that's seriously flexing its muscles on the world stage, and a democracy that's it's under intense debate. We're going to unpack all of it. So let's jump right in. And first up, let's talk about the economy. All right. First up, the economy. And, what's happening right now is a really fascinating story. It's like we're seeing these immediate challenges, these headwinds clashing head on with our long term vision. The data we're about to see really lays it all out. Okay. So the big headline that's grabbing everyone's attention, the rupee just hit a new all time low against the US dollar. It closed at 89.46. But you know us. The headline is never the full story, right? The real question we need to ask is why does this specific dip matter so much? Okay, so this is where it gets really interesting. We've got to talk about NIR versus REER. For years, right? Even when the rupee seemed to weaken on paper, that's the NIR. Our inflation was higher. That kept the real effective exchange rate, the REER, above 100. Basically, it meant our currency was still a bit overvalued. But look at what's happening now. For the first time in ages, the REER has actually slipped below 100. And what that means is this isn't just a number on a screen, it's a real depreciation. Our purchasing power has genuinely gone down. Now, there's a flip side. This makes our exports cheaper and more attractive out there, but it also means imports, especially something critical like crude oil, are going to cost us more. Grasping this push and pull is absolutely key for your GS Paper 3. And just to add another layer to this economic puzzle, the IMF came out with its latest report and they use this very, let's say, diplomatic phrase, some shortcomings. They were pointing to issues in the very data we use to steer the whole economy. But the IMF didn't just point fingers, they actually laid out a pretty clear path forward. They said, look, you need to revise your national accounts regularly. You absolutely have to conduct that census that's been delayed. I mean, that's the foundation for so much other data. And you've got to get your fiscal data out faster. So here's the bottom line for you. This isn't just some feedback from an international body. This is a potential means question just waiting to be asked, all about the credibility of India's institutional data. Okay, so we've talked about the challenges. Let's pivot now to the vision, to the ambition. And this table, honestly, it's pretty startling. As a whole country, India's spending on R&D is hovering around just 0.65% of our GDP. Now compare that to a single company, just one, Huawei. They're investing over 20% of their revenue into R&D. The gap is massive, right? It just screams that we need a huge mindset shift. R&D can't just be a little side project or a CSR thing. We need to be building serious industrial scale research pipelines. That's the only way we're going to compete on the global stage. All right, let's shift gears. From economic ambition, let's talk about how that translates into hard power. We're going to look at the real tangible results of the Atmanirbhar Bharat initiative, self-reliant India. And there's no better place to see this in action than in our defense sector. And boom, here's a perfect example. The new stealth frigate, Taragiri, was just handed over to the Indian Navy, but the real story isn't just the ship itself. Look at that chart. That giant 75% chunk. That's how much of the ship is homegrown, made right here in India. It's a massive win for our domestic defense industry under Project 17A, a totally concrete example of self-reliance in action. So, while we're building our own stuff, we also have to make sure that the top of the line gear we've bought is always ready to go. That's what this deal is all about. It's a nearly 8,000 crore deal for our 24 Seahawk helicopters. But here's the key. We're not buying new choppers, we're buying a 5-year support package. Think spares, training, maintenance, the whole shebang. Why? Because it's absolutely critical to keep our best submarine hunters in the sky, ready for action at a moment's notice. Okay, We've been in the skies, now let's dive deep. I mean, really deep. We're going to talk about the super ambitious Samudrayan mission, but first, you've got to understand the amazing tech that makes it even possible. It's called synthetic foam. The easiest way to picture it, think of it like a super advanced life jacket for a submarine. It has to provide buoyancy, but it also has to survive the insane, bone crushing pressure you find thousands of meters under the sea. And this right here is the vehicle that foam is built for, the Matsya 6000. This submersible is designed to carry a 3-person crew all the way down to 6,000 meters. 6,000 meters. This isn't just a science project. This mission puts India in a very exclusive club. Only a handful of nations can do manned deep sea exploration. We're talking about opening up a whole new frontier for resource exploration. Okay, for our final section, let's zoom out a bit. We're moving from the tangible to something a bit more abstract, but honestly, it's just as important, especially for your GS paper 2 prep. We're going to talk about the very machinery of our democracy and the tough conversations being had about how well it's working. Sometimes a picture is worth 1,000 words. This chart from PRS Legislative Research, it speaks for itself, doesn't it? Just look at those numbers. The Lok Sabha worked for just 29% of its scheduled time last session. The Rajya Sabha, a little better at 34%. What that really means is that essential tools for holding the government accountable, things like question hour, they just didn't happen. This goes way beyond daily politics. This is a serious question about the fundamental effectiveness of our parliament. And it's not just us saying it. Listen to the experts. PDT Acharya, a former Secretary General of the Lok Sabha, a man who knows the rulebook inside and out, he didn't mince words. He called passing bills without any real debate a mockery of legislative business. That's a powerful statement. It points to a breakdown in what Parliament is supposed to do deliberate. At the same time, we're seeing another pillar of our democracy, the Election Commission, really standing its ground. They've submitted a statement to the Supreme Court, and their message is crystal clear. They're saying, look, under Article 324, our power to maintain the integrity of the voter lists is absolute. It's sovereign. The government's role in citizenship doesn't override it. And this leads to a really important distinction that often gets mixed up. So let's clear it up. The Election Commission is doing something called a Special Intensive Revision, or SIR. Its job is to purify the existing voter lists, getting rid of duplicates, names of people who've moved, that sort of thing. This is completely different from the National Register of Citizens, the NRC, which is a massive exercise to figure out who is and isn't a citizen in the first place. Two separate things. And hey, here's a quick UPSC hack for you. Remember, UPSC rewards conceptual clarity way more than just memorizing facts. All right, time to change pace. Let's get into a quick rapid fire round to grab some essential facts for your prelims. And here's another UPSC hack. Get that prelims diary out. You're going to want to jot these down. First up, from the world of environment, we've got the rustic bunting. It's a rare migratory bird, and guess what? It's been spotted for the very first time ever in the NCR over at Najaf's Garjal. So, 3 key takeaways for you. It comes from the northern Palearctic. It's a first for the NCR, and its conservation status on the IUCN list just got upgraded from vulnerable to near threatened. Got it? Good! Next up, I've got a fantastic term for you to use in your GS paper for ethics answers. It's called fiduciary stewardship. What does it mean? Well, it's this really smart idea that instead of trying to give animals human-style rights, which gets legally messy, we should position ourselves as their trustees. It's a model for governance where we build their welfare right into our policies because we formally acknowledge that they are sentient beings. Okay, so let's pull it all together. What are the big picture takeaways for mains today? I'd say there are 3. First, the credibility of our economic data, it's definitely under the microscope, both at home and abroad. Second, Atmanirbhar Bharat in defense is proving it's more than just a slogan. It's delivering real strategic results. And third, it's clear that our key democratic institutions are facing some serious deep-seated structural challenges. And that leaves us with one final big question for you to think about. When you look at all these intertwined issues in the economy, in our security, in our democracy, what's the one single reform you think is the most critical for India's path forward over the next 10 years? It's a heavy question, right? To help you think it through and really connect these dots, be sure to go back and revise these topics.